When Damage Control first arrived on the scene, it was a major sign from Triple H that there was going to be a major shakeup within WWE Creative. It was a surprise. It was like a genuine surprise. There was no leaks. There was nothing being talked about. There was no ideas given or hints given to the fact that this would happen. And it made the moment that much greater. But now so much time has passed and you're starting to realize that Damage Control has slightly gone stale. That was until WWE did something quite shocking. And that was by having Asuka turn heel on Friday Night SmackDown, aligning with Damage Control. Now, I talked about this in my news video on my main channel, so if you guys haven't watched it, I'm going to put it somewhere here on the video for you guys to watch, because there are some plans for Bayley to turn babyface, and it looks like Bayley could be undergoing a character change. And I believe this is all going to start at Survivor Series. The Judgment Day did something incredible as a faction under Edge. They turned on him. They saw it wasn't working, they shook things up, and it completely changed everything for the Judgment Day. And it looks like WWE will be copying that same exact formula, but for the Damage Control faction. The reality is, in WWE, one of the major problems is that there are too many heels. And Bayley is a great heel. But it's been a really long time since Bayley has been a top babyface, which we all know she is incredibly good at it. So with WWE turning Bayley as a babyface, and then having Damage Control take over, this will change the future of WWE's women's division, as we have seen WWE change altogether with the Judgment Day turning on Edge. Now, the thing is, when you look at Damage Control, you have to wonder who is going to potentially be the leader. WWE has slowly but surely hinted at who that leader is going to be. And we're not going to waste time. It looks like it's going to be Dakota Kai. Now, Dakota Kai currently isn't cleared to wrestle, so this actually makes a lot of sense. Whether WWE does this and accelerates the story quickly, or whether WWE continues to do a slow burn, only time will tell. But I believe that the Damage Control team will turn on Bayley by the time of War Games. And it's going to be a very nice moment, a big pop, because Bayley turning face, aligning with Charlotte and Bianca Belair, it just makes too much sense. But now we got to talk about Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka. We got to talk about those three. They are incredibly talented. And them being heels fits their role incredibly well. Now, for those who are familiar with WWE NXT Black and Gold, you know that there had been some really impressive heel turns. And yes, we could talk about Asuka being a heel. We could talk about Io Sky being a heel. We could talk about now Kairi Sane being a awesome heel. But for some reason, we're not talking about Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai turned on her best friend Raquel Rodriguez in Black and Gold NXT. She changed her hair, her makeup, and her attire, and it was a whole different vibe. And the whole different vibe actually paid off a lot in that story. So imagine Dakota Kai, the one who everybody loves. Dakota Kai is kind of like, in a way, she kind of reminds me of old school Bayley, right? She's like the cool, like fun, loving personality. And while Damage Control has been a heel this entire time we've been watching the story unfold, they've almost kind of been like a cool heel group. Yeah, they do beatdowns and stuff like that, but from a character perspective, it's been more cool than heelish. When Dakota Kai and Damage Control turn on Bayley, I think this is going to flip a switch in their characters that truly allow them to be badass, dark, very hated heels. Dakota Kai being the one that a lot of people see as a potential babyface, remaining a heel and being the top heel leader of this group, will indicate a major change for this group going forward. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but I cannot think of one dominant women's faction in the WWE history that has ever been on the level of the Judgment Day or the Bloodline. And I think there's something that WWE can do here that makes it absolutely possible for the Damage Control. But then you got to talk about the baby faces too. I know Mercedes Moné, she's injured. She's not cleared. There's a good chance she goes to, she goes back to New Japan, Stardom, maybe even AEW, maybe even TNA. But if WWE can figure out how to create faction war and faction warfare with the women's division, We are talking about a ton of fresh matchups and storylines. Look at Damage Control. You have Io Sky, Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Dakota Kai. They need to run wild on the women's division. They need to tear down the women's division. So why did I bring up Mercedes Money? Let's just say it's a possibility that Sasha Banks returns to the WWE. If it's a legitimate possibility, then it is time for WWE to truly bring the 4 horsewomen together. The OG women of NXT reforming and building a true storyline within WWE, going head to head with Damage Control. To eventually kill off Damage Control would be a massive storyline. See, the thing is, I think all of these women have incredible skills to be single stars. Right now, I feel like collectively they are all going to do very well together. And then eventually I do want to see the 4 horsewomen of NXT eventually have a fatal 4-way match at WrestleMania. Is that a possibility with Sasha Banks returning? I mean, first and foremost, Sasha Banks would have to return to the company. But man, it would be really good. See, the thing about this faction is that by having them turn on Bayley, you have another fresh story right then and there. You might even have some heels that could be in line to turn babyface to then help the babyfaces. You have people like Roxanne Perez or, maybe even, Tiffany Stratton obviously works better as a heel, but you have people in NXT that are in the women's division that could be incredible for the WWE main roster. Cora Jade, again, works great as a heel, could also be a great babyface. This would be the time for WWE to start making call-ups. This would be the time for WWE to start putting together some really good storylines for the women's division. Because when Damage Control turns on Bayley, there will be a lot of attention on this group. And no faction could last forever, so eventually the group will have to disband. There's a lot of storylines and a lot of ways to get there. Whether it's an NXT talent who does it, whether it's a main roster star who does it, there's a lot of potential. And that's really the cool thing about WWE right now. There is just so much potential and so many different ways you can go into these stories as long as you're building up people with credibility. There's also still some women not being used on SmackDown. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, great women's tag team. They should be competing against Damage Control. There's a lot of different things you can do here, but it only works when you shake up the group. When you shake up a main storyline or a main faction, it has like a trickle-down effect. It impacts other stories and other characters. And then eventually somebody could be the saving grace and eliminate them. Dakota Kai is going to be a hell of a leader for Damage Control. And I don't think people realize that. But in order for that to happen, you needed to have Bayley be the leader that she was. Just like Edge needed to be the leader of the Judgment Day. And it fell flat. But the greatest thing WWE ever did was remove Edge from that story. But it added legitimacy to Rhea Ripley, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest. And now Dominic Mysterio. A lot of great things could come from this. I'm super excited about it. This is like a really big storyline that I think WWE has slowly been telling, but now it's like they're starting to accelerate a little bit. And I don't think we'll have to wait that long. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think Dakota Kai is the right leader for Damage Control?